about to share something about manifestation that I'm pretty sure almost no other manifestation coach has ever spoken about. This took me about 14 years of studying, researching, documenting, and observing manifestation patterns to fully recognize it, first of all, and then understand it. And once you understand this, manifestation will never look the same again. Because manifestation is not random, it's not woo-woo, and it's not simply about positive thinking. Manifestation is actually a trackable, observable, measurable, and repeatable process, and it all boils down to your nervous system transformation, especially when you struggle with doubt, fear, resistance, emotional overwhelm, or a lack of belief. Have you ever noticed that manifestation almost rarely unfolds the way that people tell you that it should? Ask and then receive. Maybe you struggle to believe that you have never manifested it at all. So let me walk you through it. Say you want something. At first you feel inspired, excited, clear about something. You set the intention, you visualize it, you feel connected to it. And then suddenly, everything just goes weird. You start doubting yourself. Old fears appear. Your emotions become intense. People leave your life. Reality feels uncertain. You feel exhausted, confused, and triggered. And now you're emotionally disconnected from the very thing you wanted. And most manifestation teachers never explain this part. They simply tell you to stay positive, trust the process, keep your vibration high, that high vibe. But what if manifestation is actually a much deeper process than that? Because here's what I've noticed after studying manifestation for over 14 years, and it was fascinating. Manifestation follows a pattern. It's a cycle. I'm not talking about random patterns or vague spiritual cliches, but repeatable, observable, measurable, emotional and psychological stages that people move through over and over again. And what's interesting is that these stages are deeply connected to your nervous system. In fact, I'd even go so far as to say your nervous system is what may actually be causing the signs that you see or that you recognize. Because manifestation is not about attracting things externally. It's about becoming internally compatible with a different reality. And your nervous system plays a huge role in determining what feels safe, what's believable, what's sustainable, and ultimately what you can hold long term. This is why manifestation often feels emotionally intense, because the nervous system is constantly recalibrating between the old and the new self. And this led me to develop what I call mapping manifestation, an 8-stage framework exploring the hidden emotional, psychological, subconscious, and spiritual process people move through between intention and manifestation. Okay, so what are the 8 stages? Very briefly, they are: stage 1, activation, where desire is formed and the conversation begins. Stage 2, calibration. This is where your nervous system begins adapting to a new possibility. Stage 3, clearing, where doubts, fears, and limiting beliefs begin surfacing. Stage 4, the dark night, where old identities and ways of thinking begin to dissolve. Stage 5, the void, where stillness, surrender, and deep internal changes are taking place. Stage 6, stabilization, where your new identity and nervous system begin feeling safe with the new reality. Stage 7, momentum. This is where opportunities, synchronicities, and movement begin accelerating. Stage 8, integration, where the manifestation is embodied and becomes part of your new norm. Each stage has its own emotional patterns, psychological shifts, and forms of guidance. They're far too important to cover in just one video, so I'll be breaking down each stage individually so that you can recognize exactly where you are in the manifestation process and begin to explore what's actually happening beneath the surface. the signs you're likely to experience, the common mistakes people make, and what to do to move through each stage with greater confidence. Now, importantly, this is not about manifesting faster. It's about understanding what is actually happening beneath the surface, so you stop thinking you're failing every time reality feels uncomfortable. Because when belief is not 100%, manifestation will not be linear. It's transformational. And once you understand the stages that you go through during the transformation, everything starts to flow. And once you understand these stages, everything starts making far more sense. Manifestation is not random. It's a trackable, observable, measurable, and repeatable process of nervous system transformation. The first stage of your manifestation journey begins the moment desire is activated. Something shifts internally. You suddenly feel pulled towards a different reality, a new vision, a possibility, a future version of yourself. And interestingly, this stage often comes with excitement, inspiration, synchronicities, repeated signs, emotional energy, sudden manifestation, curiosity, clarity, and a heightened awareness. Also, this is often the stage where most people begin seeing angel numbers like 111 and 999, repeated themes. You might experience meaningful coincidences or emotional confirmation everywhere. But what's actually happening psychologically is incredibly important. Your reticular activating system, the part of the brain responsible for filtering your attention, begins prioritizing your desired outcome. You start noticing what was previously invisible, and this creates momentum. But here's what most people misunderstand. The activation stage is not the full manifestation. It's just the opening. The nervous system has become aware of a new possibility. It has not fully stabilized yet. And that distinction changes everything, because after activation comes calibration. The nervous system must recalibrate before it can sustain a new reality. This is where manifestation becomes much deeper than simply positive thinking, because every desire challenges your current identity. This is when your nervous system constantly asks questions like, is this safe? Is this familiar? Can I emotionally sustain this? Do I truly believe this is possible for me? And if the answer is uncertain, meaning no, resistance begins appearing, and so you will go through the 8-stage process. This is where many people suddenly experience emotional triggers, self-doubt, fear, confusion, overthinking, old memories resurfacing, limiting beliefs reappearing, friendships shifting, and perhaps even emotional exhaustion. And so because of this, most people think, oh no, manifestation isn't working. But often, this is exactly where manifestation is working. It's showing you that it's working. Because subconscious material, what I call crap, is surfacing to be seen. The old self is being challenged. And this is where manifestation starts becoming a process of nervous system expansion, not simply attraction. Because your nervous system is always trying to protect familiarity, even if familiarity is limited. This is why so many people unknowingly sabotage manifestations that sit outside their emotional comfort zone. Not because they don't want what it is that they want, but because internally the nervous system does not yet feel safe holding what it is that you want. Does that make sense? Manifestation often becomes emotionally uncomfortable before reality fully shifts. And this is where manifestation coaching can become really misleading, because people are taught if you feel doubt or fear, sadness or resistance, you're out of alignment. But I've come to realize that that's not necessarily true or correct. And in many cases, emotional intensity is actually part of recalibration, because transformation requires identity change, and identity shifts can feel really destabilizing. You are literally moving beyond the emotional patterns and beliefs and the nervous system conditioning that previously defined your reality, which means manifestation often includes emotional waves of uncertainty and confusion, the collapse of the old coping mechanisms, grief and exhaustion, disconnection, and even surrender. And this stage is deeply misunderstood because externally it can look like things are really getting worse. But internally, the old identity is losing stability. And that's really important because manifestation is not just about getting something outside of you. In fact, it's more about becoming someone capable of sustaining something different. The old version of you cannot always come with you into your new reality. One of the biggest things I noticed while studying manifestation is that people often experience a kind of identity collapse before breakthrough. The old emotional structure begins breaking down. The old ways of thinking stop working. The old coping mechanisms stop working too. The old sense of certainty disappears. And people naturally panic because they think, I've lost alignment. But often, they are actually between identities. And this is where manifestation can feel really incredibly uncomfortable psychologically and emotionally because the nervous system is no longer fully attached to the old self, but has not yet fully stabilized the new self either. This creates what I call the in-between. And this stage often feels emotionally strange, detached, surreal, directionless, empty, neutral, or calm but confusing. And interestingly, this is often where people stop forcing manifestation, which is not a bad thing. Not because they've given up, but because emotional over control begins dissolving. This is where deeper surrender starts appearing naturally. The most aligned manifestation state is not often excitement, it's calm contentment. You see, true alignment really feels quieter than what most people expect, but has not yet fully stabilized the new self either. And this creates what I call the in-between. This stage often feels emotionally strange, detached, surreal, directionless, empty, neutral, or calm but confusing. And interestingly, this is often where people stop forcing manifestation, not because they've given up, but because emotional over-control begins dissolving. This is where deeper surrender starts appearing naturally. The most aligned manifestation state is often not excitement, it's calm contentment. You see, true alignment usually feels much quieter than most people expect. It's not manic, euphoric, or obsessively excited. Instead, it's grounded and stable and content and emotionally safe. And this is where the nervous system finally begins stabilizing the new reality internally. Because manifestation is not just about visualizing something temporarily. It's about the nervous system learning, this is safe for me now. And once that happens, people often notice synchronicities begin accelerating, opportunities appearing, emotional clarity returning, intuitive nudges increasing, and reality reorganizing itself more naturally. But importantly, this usually happens after emotional calibration, not before it. Signs don't come first. They reveal the process that's already unfolding underneath. And this is one of the most misunderstood parts of manifestation. People often think signs are random reassurance, and on the surface, they are. But signs can also be feedback. They reflect subconscious shifts, emotional shifts, identity shifts, nervous system recalibration, psychological movement, and expanding awareness. And this is why certain signs appear during specific stages. Some signs emerge during activation, others during clearing, others during collapse or stabilization. And once you understand the 8 stages your nervous system goes through, you stop misinterpreting manifestation emotionally every single day. Instead, you begin recognizing patterns, and patterns change everything. Because patterns create understanding, and understanding reduces fear while increasing belief. Manifestation is not about becoming less human. It's about becoming internally compatible with your new reality. And this is one of the biggest shifts people need to understand. Manifestation is not about perfection. It's not about never feeling fear. It's not about never doubting, never becoming emotional. It's about transformation. And transformation is not always comfortable or easy, but it is trackable, observable, measurable, and repeatable, because human beings move through recognizable emotional and psychological processes during an identity shift. And that is gold. In essence, manifestation is ultimately an identity shift, not just an attraction process. The nervous system must gradually expand, adopt, recalibrate, and emotionally integrate before the new reality feels natural. That's why manifestation is not instant. And honestly, that's why understanding the process matters so much. Because when people understand the stages they're going through, they stop panicking every time they experience resistance. They stop thinking emotional discomfort means failure. And instead, they begin understanding transformation, the process itself. What if manifestation has been working the entire time? You just didn't understand the stages you were going through. Because honestly, I think this is where manifestation changes completely. It certainly did for me. When you stop seeing it as random and you start recognizing it as a deeper process of subconscious, emotional, psychological, and nervous system transformation and upgrading, that's when things begin making sense. And this is exactly why I created Mapping Manifestation, because people are constantly told to trust the process without understanding the process. You see, nobody explains what the process actually is. So here's what I want you to really think about moving forward, especially if you've been grinding, forcing, or desperately trying to make manifestation work for you. The fact that you are here trying to work out what you're doing wrong or right is part of the process that I'm talking about. You see, your inner wisdom has guided you here to help you upgrade. So understand this. Manifestation is not about manifesting faster or harder. It's about understanding what's happening beneath the surface so that you can stop thinking you're failing every time reality feels uncomfortable. This is the how you truly need to begin adopting from now on. Instead of constantly asking, how do I force this? How do I stay aligned? Begin asking instead, what's happening inside me right now? What is this emotional shift trying to tell me or show me? What does my nervous system actually need right now? Because your feelings are often guiding you towards the exact areas that require healing, safety, expansion, and transformational shift. Manifestation isn't a linear process when belief is not 100%. It's a transformational process. It is a total identity shift or upgrade. And so it must be nervous system based. To truly understand manifestation, it's incredibly important to understand the 8 stages you go through, so you recognize where you are within the process at any given time, because manifestation is a process. And once you truly understand that, everything starts to make far more sense. Now, if this resonates with you, I'd love to know your comments. Which emotional shifts have you felt lately? Which stage do you think that you might be currently experiencing, or what signs are you experiencing? And if you want to go deeper, I've created a free Mapping Manifestation workshop where I break down the hidden stages, the manifestation signs, the emotional shifts, subconscious resistance, nervous system recalibration, and how to recognize where you are within the process. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, the link is in the description for the manifestation workshop. And if you like this video, keep your eye out for the video on why emotional collapse often happens right before major transformation occurs. Because once you understand that, you'll never interpret manifestation in the same way again. Blessings will follow.